So as you can see by the thumbnail, it's a very good looking series. It's very pretty, and I discovered this series thanks to my good friend Brady here and also Belle that were posting images of this series pretty much all late last night continuously, and I was like, yo, this looks really good. And I want to be honest with you, I got a weakness. I got a weakness for like a female character that has like silver hair, red eyes. Just, I have a weakness for that. You say whatever you want, but I really think that's one of my favorite character designs, okay? It's simplistic, but I like it. And when I saw this panel from these two, I was just like, okay, this is something I want to start. And upon looking into it, apparently the series is called SS Class Suicide Hunter. And this right here is chapter 3, and then, the chapters onward, and I'm gonna talk about it. And I wanted to kind of do my first impressions of this story, because legitimately, if you like, let's say, a Subaru, like Natsuki Subaru, like character, that is, like from ReZero, you're probably going to enjoy this, and hear me out, okay? So, the main character of our story, he is an individual that literally starts off with nothing. A typical beginning for any type of story of this type of genre, where, a character needs to get stronger, they have skills, etc. they want. It's a typical start. They're the underdog. However, what makes this one really interesting is that our main character, straight up, I'm not even gonna lie to you, you can see this right quick, he gets the ability to return back to life 24 hours earlier. So basically, if he dies, he can return back to a certain point 24 hours previously. And, he also has the ability to duplicate a skill from a hunter that kills him. So basically, when he has an encounter with an enemy hunter, another person, and let's say they're an enemy or whatever, and they kill him, he will be able to duplicate one of their skills, but he cannot see what skill it is. He'll just see the card ranking. For instance, if a gold card, silver card, or, a bronze card. And he just selects one. It's kind of like a gacha system. But when he selects one, he copies that skill and he gains it upon his rebirth. The thing is that thanks to a combination of his skills and his first death with the skill he unlocked, for instance, being able to steal a skill after, he dies, which is what he got here, he is able to basically continuously die and gain power. And this is where the Natsuki Subaru stuff kind of comes into play. Basically, the main male character is done very wrong. Like, he is killed by the number one hunter, the Flame Emperor. Someone that, is this egotistical psychopath. Someone that literally is just a bad person beyond a shadow of a doubt. But the thing is that the community, the people love him, even regardless of his very egotistical tone, because obviously, he does, do a lot of good deeds here and there, maybe on the surface, and, he is the number one hunter. So people, regardless of the criticism, they still praise him. However, our main character had an encounter, and he died to the hunter, because the hunter's a psychopath. And he reverts back 24 hours, he realizes what happened, and this hunter that, killed him was pretty much his idol. Like, he has newspapers on his wall, as you could see here, of him pretty much praising this Flame Emperor. He was constantly wanting to be like him, and thanks to his envy, he eventually obtained an ability that allowed him to copy a skill of another. AKA, he copied the Flame Emperor skill to be able to go back 24 hours into the past upon dying. And this is where the series gets interesting, because obviously, when you copy a skill of someone that's already able to return by death, basically, like Subaru, how are you supposed to really kill them? Well, the main character takes it upon himself and he realizes what he has to do. He realizes the only way to get rid of this individual right here is by literally dying over 4,000 times. Like, here, I'm going to skip through it, and I'm going to get to the actual scene at the end. But basically, he realizes he just has to keep dying. And he keeps going back 24 hours. So his motivation, basically, at this point, is to just, continuously die over and over to get to a point before the Flame Emperor got his skill of return by death, pretty much. And so, the way to do this, as you could see him already contemplating it, he realizes he needs to die over 4,090 times to get there. He realizes that. And that automatically enters into a realm of dark, that he needs to literally end it all over 4,000 times. This is a task, an undertaking, that not any sane individual can do. And it kind of dives into the psyche of the main male character for him to even go that far to die that many times just to get vengeance on someone that obviously is a psychopath that just murders random people. And so the character does this. And he does get back to a certain point the day before the Flame Emperor does get the ability to return by death, and he kills him. He maliciously kills him. But before he does, he wants to see if the Flame Emperor is actually a good person. Like, was he changed with times? Because obviously, yes, we saw the end result thanks to the first 3 chapters that the Flame Emperor was not a good person, clearly. He killed a lot of innocent people. But at what point in time was he a better person? And so the main character, he tests this man. He tests him to see, and he's like, I'm wounded, I'm hurt, can you give me your potion or I'm going to die? And the Flame Emperor's response was basically saying, you want this, you want it for free, it's very expensive, which is understandable at first. That's understandable. You know, the man, you know, is probably doing really hard on money. He's like, kid, give me some money. And so the character's like, sure, I'll give you 20 gold, you know, here you go, which is fair. But upon trying to give him the money that it's actually worth, he decides to say, nah, I would like to, you know, have more. And so he's basically implying he wants more. So 40 gold he offers. He's like, nah, you know, he wants everything that he has to offer. And upon that, you know, he basically robs our main character. And once again, at this point in time, he's already went in the past. He's already died 4,090 times. He's already dead set on this. But once again, this was the final test, the final straw, so to speak, to see if the Flame Emperor was a good person. But clearly he's not. He was given one last chance before he got his ability to come back to life. And upon that, you know, he does the exact same thing he does in the future, like 17 years or whatever, 11 years, you know, in the future, he's about to kill the main character again, showcasing he's always been a scummy murderer, a psychopath. And so the main character, he gets rid of him. He goes against him, he gets rid of him, and he kills the Flame Emperor. That's exactly what happens. Thus starts the journey of SSS Suicide Hunter, or SSS class, you know. But, it's a very interesting start, honestly. And what really gets dived into is the psyche of the main character. And I want to kind of point this out, is that this right here, as you can see, is how many times he's committed murder. Basically, someone saw his kill count, and as I've already talked about the number, you know, he killed, you know, he died like 4,090 times, okay? And that one is obviously the person I just showed you, the Flame Emperor. And this number one hunter basically saw this like, yo, you're quite the murderer, aren't you? Like, that's kind of crazy. And clearly, you know, what's, you know, clarified as murder is that the main character dying. So, clearly, you know, there's a loophole with that skill, but there's no way he could really explain that. So, he basically has done that for so many times that there's just no way he can properly have communication with someone that's able to see a kill count over your head. But to go a little bit further, what makes this series even more interesting is that he gains a skill from the other number one hunter before the Flame Emperor, that is this guy. He is a sword master. He's a passive skill. And he's pretty much a disembodied ghost that floats around, does whatever he wants, and he gives advice, basically. He gives advice about how to be a better person or stronger, etc. You know, different recipes from another world, so to speak. And he talks about the only talent that the MC actually has is that he does not have the fear of death. Which, this gets into the aspect of the mental state of the MC, and also, as I already talked about, reminds you a lot of Natsuki Subaru. It reminds you of how Subaru, if he went down certain routes, or he made certain slight decisions with his character, he would have lost himself, and he would have lost the fear of death. And we need to think about this, the fear of death. What does that truly mean? Obviously, the Swordmaster's saying he has a talent to be able to avoid that. Like, you know, he doesn't feel it anymore. But that talent is just not something you accomplish. You can't just accomplish that. No man, no matter how strong you are, really fully can accomplish that unless you're just straight up crazy. And in this case, what's being implied here is that the main character is crazy, and he no longer can be even human anymore. He can't be really classified as a human anymore because he literally doesn't fear death. He could just keep dying over and over at this point. So what really, you know, stopping him from doing whatever he wants? He has lost that feeling of humanity. And that's what Subaru, and ReZero almost lost in Arc 4 and previously. And he had to really do a lot of mental changes just to be able to overcome that, because he was losing himself. So I like the main character. He's really interesting, and the whole aspect of him dying isn't something that just was used for vengeance. It legitimately is used as a psyche, like, his mental state. And that is a big topic, and he's using these different things as well to be able to, progress in this new world. For instance, he wins the lottery. He also uses the ability to know who's going to be good at certain things in the future to be able to make connections. For instance, someone that was an alchemist, he learns who they are or where they're at, and he pays them early to be basically their first customer to make a very expensive elixir. It's a really unique story. And already reading basically 10 chapters deep at this point and want to continue onward, I definitely am. I mean, hell, I haven't even gotten into this image that, was what really sparked and interested me to want to even read this series to begin with. But now that I am 10 chapters deep, this is good. This is legitimately good, and you should 100% give this a read. I couldn't recommend it enough. But I want to leave it at that. I want to dive more into this, but be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.